Hey, thanks for joining us on our comic book coffee break. I'm Nick Gunning.
I'm Eric Mickles, known online as Dusk versus Tweak.
Eric, in celebration of our first episode of the Halloween season, instead of coffee today, I have hot apple cider. I know what that does to you,
Yeah.
but I'm just fine. So I'm
Yeah.
drinking some hot cider here.
Yeah.
What about you?
Rips right through me like a tornado through Tornado Alley. You know?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's the best you could do. Okay.
Yeah.
What are you drinking there? What do you got?
Cold apple cider.
Do you really have cider?
Cider Bros.
Oh my gosh. Everyone shut up. This was not planned. This just happened.
Cider Bros.
Wow. What color socks are you wearing?
Black.
Oh my gosh! Me too.
Sock Bros.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have an Aquaman shirt on?
No, I've got a Storm shirt on.
Darn it.
Sorry.
I should have stopped.
Yeah. I would definitely say I'm
pushed
a bigger fan of Storm than I am of Aquaman in general.
Okay, but it's a horse race. It's close.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
It's
Neck and neck.
Aquaman is fine,
Yeah.
but he's
Mhm.
I don't even know what number he would show up on my favorite list of heroes.
Okay. Maybe we can find out. in
Yeah.
episode
We'll do
100.
our top 100 favorite heroes
Yeah.
each.
Perfect.
Well, Nick, actually he's my hero of the year as well.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy
All right.
15.
Do you want to tell them where this show is from?
Yeah, this
I
show
got
is
it.
from the internet, but it's also brought to you by
Oh.
the Radio Meanwhile Network, and you can find more about the show and others
Yeah.
like it at our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com.
If you're a fan of 90s teen TV, you can come check me out over on 902 and Here We Go for Radio Meanwhile Network, where we're going through all episodes of Beverly Hills 90210.
You're done with season 3.
Eric, we're recording the commencement episode this weekend, so yes, very soon.
You want to know
we will-
something fun? As I'm recording
Yeah.
this right now, behind me,
Yes.
the wall behind me, my wife is watching the
Yes.
season 3 finale at this
Oh
moment.
my gosh, it's a long one. It's a two-parter, so
Oof.
hope she's got plenty of snacks.
Look
yeah.
like a clip show.
It's a bit of
So,
a clip show. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
boy.
unfortunate. It
The
really
90s
is.
loved
It
a
really-
clip show.
Yeah,
That was the
Yeah,
thing
they
the
did.
90s love.
I know.
Is
Golden
it-
Girls, man. Like every other episode of the
Yeah.
Golden Girls, they're just sitting around the kitchen table being like,
Fox-
"Get the cheesecake." Remember that time?
Fox apparently told the Simpsons creators to crank out like 5 a season, so they only did 1. But Fox
Oh,
was like, do
wow.
5 episodes a season, and the Simpsons creators
Yeah,
like,
sir.
no, we'll do 1 a season. It's crazy.
That's too many. There's one in Star Trek, and like season 2 of Next Gen, there's a clip show, and it's
Which is crazy.
pretty
It's
awful.
crazy. Like, do you remember the last 10 episodes? Well, here
I
they
know.
are.
That's for sure. That's for sure how it is. Eric, let's talk comic books.
Yeah, I guess. Sure. What have you been reading?
Oh.
What have I been reading? That's why we're here.
I
to talk
really don't
comic
know.
books.
You know, I'm still we're in the midst of Hispanic Heritage Month, and I've gone on this journey of only reading superhero titles with Hispanic leads.
Right, because this
and
is like
it's
this is September through October.
it's like September 15th to October 15th.
Right. Okay.
It's like the 4 weeks right in the middle there. Yep.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've read some interesting stuff. Would you like me to share some with you?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get this right out of the way. I finished the first batch of Ultimate Comics Spider-Man. So I read volumes 4 and 5 of the Miles Morales fronted Spider-Man series, written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by David Marquez. Have you read all of these?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just feel like they can't. Volume 4 is a big like Venom fight, and I actually did like that because it was pretty like Miles heavy. But for the most part, it was like we had origin, then we had like getting sucked into an Ultimates crossover,
Mhm.
then we had this one Venom thing, and then the last volume he's like walked away from being Spider-Man. So I just feel like we never really had a chance for there to be a status quo. So for him to walk away from the status quo, it was kind of like, what are we even doing? And the last volume I feel like was more about Cloak and Dagger than Miles.
Yeah. Bendis.
So-
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
don't know. I
it's-
mean, the Ultimate Universe.
Wants so bad. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think this is where the Ultimate Universe is winding down, and maybe he knew the writing was on the wall, so he was just trying to crank out any loose ends. And at this point, I don't know what else he was writing, but he was writing this, and then I think he wrote the whole Secret Wars Ultimates thing. I could be wrong, but boy, that
The
was
last
us.
issue of this I read was like up next Cataclysm. I don't really know what that means.
Oh, okay. Cataclysm. is before everything ends. But yeah, Cataclysm is the thing.
Okay.
So
So yeah, I mean, I liked the Venom one pretty good, but I do have a lot of like criticisms of this series. Number one, I feel like is the specter of Peter Parker just hangs so heavily. They talk about him constantly. Gwen Stacy plays a pretty large role in the series. You got Aunt May, you got Mary Jane. I just feel like for whatever reason, they couldn't
yeah,
settle into just treating Miles as the lead and just being like, "Yep, Peter Parker's dead. This is the new Spider-Man."
yep.
There's always all these caveats, and it really, to me, just kind of sucker punched the whole series and made it kind of lackluster. I don't. I know there's the Miles Morales title gets rebooted several times. There's a few more like issue number ones coming up in the future. Are those better, worse? Have you not read more?
Did I read the Miles? I think the next one is Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Revival is volume 1.
Okay.
Yes, I did
All right.
read
All right.
these. I read this here.
Okay.
I'm caught up with like all his stuff until post Secret Wars, where he like becomes
Okay.
part of the Marvel universe.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So my memories of these, I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, this thing. Okay. Yeah, you'll have to read Spider-Man at some point.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I haven't read
So
it.
yeah,
Is that set in the Ultimate Universe, or what's the situation with that? Is that like a
I don't want to spoil
what
it for
if
you.
kind of story, or is it?
I can't spoil
Okay,
it for you.
understood. Well, so anyway, I read. So this is me concluding this first volume. 28 issues,
Hmm.
spread across 5 volumes, collected. Um, Mixed bag, I feel like, and primarily it's because I don't feel like they ever really gave Miles the chance to like headline the book.
Hmm.
So, do you agree with that? Disagree?
Yeah, it didn't wasn't so long ago that I read these, but I gave the last volume, the Revelations, a 2 star. So I must have really
Yeah.
disliked it. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I don't
he's
know.
not Spider-Man for very much of it, and it
Yeah,
focuses a lot, like I said, on Cloak and Dagger and
yeah,
Jessica Drew. So it's
yeah,
kind of a weird title all around.
yeah. So I don't know
What about
what
you?
the
What have
status
you been up
quo is
to?
for him in the Marvel
Well,
universe
I don't
now.
either after
So
having read 5 volumes, so I don't know.
all right, what
You
have
got
I
anything
read?
good over there?
Don't say it like maybe I don't.
Well, last week you only read the question,
Mm.
so I think
Hmm.
it's a genuine question I have.
A genuine question is what I read
Yeah.
last week. The genuine question.
Hmm.
I read. Well, I finished Black Hammer. I finished the Black Hammer saga
Okay. All right.
by Jeff Lemire. Who did the art for these? Maybe
It was
Dean
Yo Mama.
Ormstrong. No, it wasn't my
Oh,
mama.
okay. No.
Yeah, Dean Ormstrong and Rich
Yeah.
Tommaso. So this was 2 volumes. It's Black Hammer Volume 3, Age of Doom
Okay.
Part 1. Black Hammer Volume 4, Age of Doom Part 2. Age of
Got it.
Doom is just like it really is just Black Hammer 13 through whatever.
Okay.
Um, can't say I'm not disappointed with the ending.
Okay.
It all just kind of wraps up in ways that feels kind of unsatisfying. This series has never been good as the first volume.
Okay.
Where it was just this kind of retro style Astro City meets I don't even know. Seemed like it was kind of it was
Well, I
telling
mean,
this kind of like folksy story that we've
yeah.
kind of seen before about people trapped in like a Pleasantville situation
Right.
with superhero archetypes, but their characters were different and unique. And like the mystery was where are they and how did they get home?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in between part 2 or volume 2 and volume 3, I had to read all these miniseries, and none of those
Yeah.
miniseries come into play. I wouldn't have
Did
been
you read
lost
Black
at
Hammer
all.
Justice League? That's my question.
No, because it's not. I don't think it's continuity, and I think you technically can read it after everything. I actually have it in my house right now. I got a hardcover copy from the library, so I'm
Okay.
going to read it. It's supposed to be very good.
Okay.
So maybe that will be fun. But yeah, considering what this story started out as, it got weirdly too big and also too small in the end. There were things I liked about it. There were things they were playing with, like the Sandman archetype, like Sandman stories
Okay.
that Neil Gaiman did. He did kind of a parody of that and some other things. But in the end, yeah, it was just kind of a letdown. So there's lots of stories have done this whole like, where are we? We're trapped in this kind of. I mean,
Right.
freaking
Yeah.
whatever. The show Legends of Tomorrow has done one,
Yeah.
fairly recently. I don't know. I don't know if he was biting off too much or if he wasn't thinking big
Yeah.
enough.
Hmm.
So,
Well, I was interested in this series before you started reading it, but your reading of it has not encouraged that interest because I don't remember the last time you really liked one, and I think it was probably volume one.
there was that Starman parody, not Doctor Star, which was good,
Okay.
but it was a good standalone title. But that's the thing. Like when you get to volume 4 and you're reading it, like, oh, none of those extra series that I read meant I
Mm-hmm.
could have skipped it and just read these 4 volumes, and maybe that would have been the way to go. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
one I'd recommend for somebody who is interested in something not Marvel or DC, but maybe mileage might vary with the ending.
Okay. All right.
So
I I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, but I read more of Blue Beetle.
why do you say that you don't know why you keep doing this to yourself?
I mean, the the New 52 stuff was fine, but I don't know. It's like they're not really like freshening up the creative team. Like Keith Giffen just keeps writing these things. They keep making Blue Beetle series, giving it to Keith Giffen, canceling it in under 20 issues, and then launching it again with the same creative team. And it's like, yeah, it's not working. It's not working. You know what I mean? It's like only in comic books and like politics can you fail upwards so much. But the series has just not taken off for me. And this was a real they really tried to make it so that it was a totally different retelling of Blue Beetle, but they couldn't quite divorce themselves from like the Blue Beetle that we know.
Which
So
character
in
is
this
this?
one, just the whole. I mean, there's Ted Cord and there's Jaime Reyes who are in this book, and Ted Cord is presented as kind of a Tony Stark-esque figure. Their relationship is not unlike Tony Stark and Peter Parker in the MCU.
Cool.
It has, yeah, I know, has a little bit of that vibe to it. So Ted being there is just
So
kind of
you're
like,
saying, Mr. Stark, that if we tax the rich, we're actually going to cause more problems and disrupt the trickle-down theory? That's right, Peter. You are a great
Wow.
sidekick.
the problem I think is just like first the focus is split because you got to like whatever like celebrity tech guru thing Ted Cord has going on, you got to give a little bit of attention to.
Mhm.
And then Dr. Fate shows up in like the first issue and he's like, you think that's an alien scarab, but it's actually a magic scarab from the magic world. And that just like doesn't click at all.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense that it's like a magical totem thing. It's
Mhm.
it just fundamentally doesn't work. And so the split focus and the weird attempt to make the backstory different just kind of fail. And again, like Jaime's just not really the central focus. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it just it's sloppy and weird. Honestly, I don't know that I would read more of this. But I might just because like I'm doing this thing where I'm reading the Hispanic characters and there's just not a ton of them. So maybe you'll hear me talking about the rest of Blue Beetle next week. But I was very unimpressed. I thought this was the worst Blue Beetle I've ever read.
Wow.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. And our pal J.M. DeMatteis was in there a little bit too.
Mm.
So
Sorry.
I don't know. Not even J.M. could bring it up. I guess I don't know.
He was in Teen Titans versus the Justice League, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Blue Beetle, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think J.M. DeMatteis was, but I think Blue Beetle was there.
Where
Yeah.
Blue Beetle was very big in Young Justice. Is that what
Yeah.
I'm remembering him from? The whole, like,
Yeah,
you should kill everybody. Shut up, Beetle! No!
Yeah, he keeps popping up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I've read something that I think you would like. It's called Batman Overdrive.
I'm the one.
I'm actually holding it right here. It's called Batman
I read
Overdrive. It's by
first.
Shea Fontana and
I interviewed
Marcelo
her.
Di
Oh my-
Di Sciarra. I think you would like the book, and I think, yeah, if you were to talk to her, I think you'd have a good time.
I did all those.
So,
things. Did you-
Nick-
I'm surprised you picked this up.
Yeah, let me tell you what it's about. So basically, it's
I
like
know.
a 15-year-old
Oh
Bruce
my
Wayne
gosh.
about to turn 16.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so anyone who didn't hear Nick talk about this last time, it's basically a young pre-Batman Bruce Wayne. He's turning 16. He's going to be getting his driver's license. He's fixing up his dad's 1966 Crusader. The gist of it really is Bruce still being a pretty angry young man, and really not digging Alfred, because he kind of blames Alfred for his parents' death.
Yeah.
Because Alfred wasn't their driver that night. So he blames them. He blames him for that. Everybody's like, "Oh, your uncle's cool. Your granddad's cool." It's like, he's my butler. At one point he fires Alfred, and it reminded me of Gotham is a pretty not great show, but the Bruce Wayne Alfred relationship in that was pretty good. And there was a scene very early on, or maybe season 3 or 4, I don't remember, where Bruce fired Alfred, and I remember being like kind of choked up. I'm like, "You don't do that, Bruce! You don't fire Alfred!" And Alfred's like, "Thank you. It was a pleasure serving you." And he's like, "If you need any references, please be sure to call." And Alfred's like, "Right, well then, okay then." And I'm just
cold as ice. Cold as ice, Bruce Wayne.
So this is a younger book. It's actually a pretty lengthy one, though. It feels like one that if I had read as a kid would have taken me some time and like worth rereading and everything. There's a group of car thieves that are the some Batman villain characters. So you get Harley and Ivy and Lady Shiva. She's there again. She's in everything these days.
I know. She is.
But they're like teenagers. And Selena Kyle's in here as well. So it's fun. I like it. It's not something that you could really see as canon, because
no.
Like in the end, everybody knows who Bruce Wayne is, and
pretty
like
much,
he's got his friends have called it the Batmobile. They know he has a secret cave.
Yeah.
And everything. But yeah, it's fun. It's I would imagine if you like car stuff in general too, that it's that would do it for you, because they talk a lot about fixing up cars. The art, I guess I'm fine with. The art isn't really directed at me. It's directed at a younger audience. So it stays colorful and kinetic and everything. So, I liked it.
I appreciated that she made a new character to be Bruce's like friend working on the car. You know, rather than using like Harvey Dent or something like that. I felt like having Mateo Diaz as just a new original character that kind of befriends Bruce over this car thing.
Yeah.
Took out a cheese factor that I think having him be like, "Come on, Tommy Elliott, let's build my dad's car," would have really had. So I liked that.
Your dad is the Lucius Fox?
Yeah, exactly. So I did. If you listen to our Batman Day episode, you'll remember I did interview Shea Fontana over on the All the Book Show, the podcast of the David A. Howe Public Library. We had a nice, long, good talk, so you can go find that over there. But we talked all about this book here.
Yeah. So
well, good. I'm glad you like it. I'm surprised that you liked it. I thought you wouldn't like it at all.
It reminds me, it's so funny because there's all this Batman as teenager stuff. There's Gotham High, there's Overdrive, there's Nightwalker. And in like the late 90s or something, they asked the people making the Batman animated series. They're like, it's kind of played out. Can you do like a teenage Batman show? And they ended up doing Batman Beyond, because the idea of doing like teen Batman seemed like they were just like, this seems so gross. And I don't need a ton of this stuff, but I did like Overdrive because it was still like a believable era for Batman to be doing stuff. And same thing with Nightwalker. Like, it's stuff that you can see this version of the character still going on to becoming Batman.
Yeah, I felt like the scope of it made sense, and I did feel like she actually found a fresh angle to approach this kind of thing, which when you're talking about Batman's origin, I mean...
You know what?
Jeez.
No, I'll talk about it in a second. There's one.
Okay.
I will talk about it in a second. Sorry.
All right.
So.
All right, well, good. I'm glad you like it. I'll talk about some Batman-related DC books that I read, and that would be Catwoman. Catwoman, Volume 1 by Jim Ballant.
How does this relate to Batman?
Oh, they're friends.
Oh, okay.
A little bit of romance, yeah.
Oh.
It's collected as Catwoman by Jim Ballant, Volume 1. He is the illustrator for this. Joe Duffy wrote it, which I was actually kind of a little impressed that in the 90s they had a woman writing Catwoman. I mean, that was kind of a surprise for me.
It's so stupid. The tag above Catwoman, when she's bad, she's very, very bad. Catwoman.
Wow.
So it's the purple cat suit from the 90s.
I like that purple suit. I like that purple suit. And this book I feel like is I mean they know what they're doing by calling it Catwoman by Jim Ballant, because the focus on like his drawings of Catwoman. I mean that's what people
This
remember
cover
about this.
is so ridiculous. I don't know if I should point out how ridiculous this cover is, but like she's got her whip, and the way the whip is going around, it's like creating borders around both her boobs and then her butt. So like there's no way you're missing those. It's like they might as well have just taken a highlighter and run around each of those like, "Oh, in case you're worried about Catwoman being for girls, boys, don't worry."
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
I don't know. I mean, you can't escape that the art is very sexualized. The
Well,
story
it's
is not.
like 1993.
Yeah.
I mean, that was every mainstream comic, right? I mean, it's every comic today. It's not like we've evolved past this in the comic industry, but yeah, that is definitely 90s. Sorry.
Here's
All right, I'll stop talking about how ridiculous that is.
That's okay. Here's a plug for another interview we did over on the All the Book Show. This interview is dropping on October 5th, so you can go and find this. We interviewed Aletha Martinez, who is a longtime artist for primarily Marvel, but also DC and more recently Archie Comics. But she was talking about Superman, wanting to draw Superman, and she said, it's funny because you're basically tasked with drawing the character naked and then just like putting
Removing,
and that was like definitely apparent that was the goal here in Catwoman. So, I do feel like that detracted from the story because it didn't really like gel with it. You know what I mean? So
I draw all my characters naked.
Do you?
Even if eventually they're gonna wear baggy clothes, I start fully nude. Yeah. And then I start drawing them so that they're like getting dressed. Doesn't matter what they're doing; they could be running naked.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
These issues are set during the Nightfall era.
I wish my comic book setting wasn't set in an old folks' home, but it's just what I'm doing.
Yeah, you got to do it. That's what you're tasked with.
On the plus side, the Golden Girls are cameoing next week.
Oh my. This is stupid. Set during the Nightfall era, so you have a lot of John Paul Valley Batman in here. So that's kind of interesting, just to have like his relationship with Catwoman and how that all works. I thought they pulled something unique out of that relationship that was more than just one note. So I kind of appreciated that. I haven't read a ton of the Nightfall stuff. I've read more like after, like I read the Batman Prodigal where Dick Grayson first takes over as Batman. But no, I mean the series was interesting, and this gives Catwoman, I don't know, maybe her darkest backstory ever. And it's not really revealed until a later issue where you're seeing it in flashback. But her mother is a Cuban immigrant who is married to a racist drunk, basically, and so their life is kind of hell. And Selina's just always sort of like dealing with this and trying to avoid her father and trying to get through life with her mother. And ultimately, she comes home and finds her mother dead. Having killed herself, and because she's basically trapped between I mean, she doesn't have any options because she's just like in the country by herself. It's like that or this like drunken monster that she's married to. So it's a really dark backstory. And like I said, in the post the wedding, there's this new Catwoman series that's going. That's kind of recanonized this version of the parent, so it's back in play here. But decent overall. It loses a mark because the needlessly sexualized art. But the story I feel like is interesting, and they actually make it so that it seems like Catwoman has a reason for having a story outside of like Batman, which is not always true with Catwoman solo stories. You know.
So around issue 50, they do the switch where Halle Berry comes in and is Catwoman.
Yeah, because everybody loved that movie so much.
All right, here's something I don't think you read, Nick. I read this book called Gotham High.
I told you to read that book.
By Melissa De La Cruz.
In our
and
Batman
the
episode.
art by Thomas Piddley. So here, let me tell you what this book is about. Basically, there's Bruce Wayne in high school. So it's basically a lot like Batman Overdrive.
Sure.
Yeah, this is the one you were interested in me reading.
Yeah, I did. I kind of thought maybe I was expecting you to like this one and not Overdrive, but it seems like
Oh.
maybe the opposite is true.
So, yeah, again, if you missed last episode, this is a YA. This is a young adult
Yeah.
comic retelling like Bruce Wayne's pre-Batman years. Bruce Wayne gets kicked out of his fancy high school, so he has to go to public high school. He meets Selena Kyle and Jack Napier. It's a weird book because the Overdrive, a lot of it is very recognizable of characters.
Yes.
Like here, Jack Napier, he has like this terrible home, and they do Joker references, but there's nothing about this character that I can like draw a line and be like, he becomes the Joker. Selena,
Yeah.
I mean, Selena becoming Catwoman isn't so hard to follow in this.
No, you can see that.
But there's like a Harvey Dent in here. A lot of it is more illusions and stuff.
Yeah.
There's some things in this that are changes that I don't mind at all, that I think are kind of cool. Alfred is actually his uncle in this, which
Right, yeah.
part of me doesn't hate, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But also the problem is it's funny because I have a harder time I have a harder time totally defining what I liked about this, because there is stuff I liked about this, but it's much easier for me to realize what I don't like about it. And basically, it has very sloppy and quick character work, and like the character dynamics just happen. He says something to Selena like, I'll always be there for you, and it just comes out of nowhere. I'm like, when is this? Like, we're supposed to believe that him and Selena are like best friends because they hung out when they were 6, and now this, and it's just, there's a lot of just relationship work. All of it just seems very rushed and comes out of nowhere. It seems like De La Cruz was just like, oh right, I have to make them feel conflicted about that relationship now. Click. And without the work leading to it.
I think that's what's interesting reading Overdrive and Gotham High. Is it Gotham High?
Gotham High, yeah.
It's called. Reading them together, because Overdrive, being written for a younger audience, you get away with not doing the depth. Where with Gotham High, like, you need a little more, but you don't have a ton of space for more.
Yeah,
so
but
you definitely can feel it smashed in there.
With Overdrive, you see the relationships like start and grow and everything, and build from like the beginning. I see those steps. With Gotham High, it's like I got whiplash with just how quickly Bruce Wayne was close to both these characters. And everything. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff. I saw some people complaining about the race changes in this. I could care less about that stuff.
No, I thought it was very natural. I thought I liked it. I thought that was a good addition.
There's something in this that I didn't love. I guess the end was fine with Selena's big reveal and everything.
Ambiguous. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess what it is I wouldn't mind reading about the continuing adventures of this Bruce Wayne as Batman.
Yeah,
I suppose. Like, I think that could be cool. And I think a lot of it comes. I like the art in this. The art in this is more appealing to me as an adult than the art in Overdrive, which is supposed to be going for like a kid version.
Overdrive could be a cartoon.
Yeah,
the kind of art that it is.
But like this Jack Napier character, the Joker. This Jack character, I couldn't care less about him in general. But yeah, the rest of it, it's a weird mixed bag. I sort of
feel like if they would have swapped the Jack Napier and the Harvey Dent, it would have gone down a little bit easier, you know?
Maybe, but Nightwalker also had Harvey Dent as a... I wonder if that's the thing. They're like, okay, this book can use Harvey Dent, this book can use Jack, and this book can use a brand new original character, because we already used that Harvey Dent.
Right. It's possible, yeah.
But yeah, it's funny, like, obviously, you want Batman to be Batman, but there is something appealing about, like, the high school age Bruce Wayne, because he's so close to be going off to do what he is.
Yeah.
So he's got that, like, that energy and that rage and the desire to, like, do something with all of that, but he's not there yet because he still has to go off and train and, like, become the world's greatest detective and all that stuff. So there is this, like, boiling energy and anger there that's, like, compelling to read. So, yeah. It's funny to think that Overdrive Batman and Gotham High Batman are the same age.
Yeah, that's I know.
So
That is true.
yeah.
Well,
No,
did
so
you ever read the graphic novel of Nightwalker or just the straight novel?
just the novel. Yeah.
Okay. I love that
Reading all
graphic.
this crap makes me
Okay.
want to rewatch Batman Beyond, but it doesn't. I know I said crap, but reading all these
You did, yeah.
like YA junior Batman stuff where he's a teenager, I'm like, I'm just gonna go rewatch Batman Beyond, which I don't need a lot
Just
of
do it.
push to do, but
I was gonna
I
say.
do love Batman Beyond. So,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
yeah, I think those are all like the kids Batman stuff that's out there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a new Dick Grayson thing that's like set in the circus, which my library hasn't gotten it in yet. I mean, I plan to read it.
Uh huh.
That's not an era that I'm super interested in, but
Mm-hmm.
I also haven't read. I read Cami Garcia's Raven, and now there's a Beast Boy one that
Yeah.
came after that, and I haven't read that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's maybe the only from like this wave of things that I haven't read.
Okay. I have
Just
so many comics now. I went to a library, finally got to be able to put physical books on hold and
yeah.
get them again after reading all this stuff. So I've got a lot of stuff that I haven't been able to find on Comixology, or Marvel doesn't have
Cool.
because it's rated max, or DC doesn't have because it's not out yet. So excited.
Yeah. Nice. Well, the last thing that I read this week was Nova Volume 1 Origins by Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness. And you'll recall how much I loved their Hulk that they did together.
Yeah.
Nova, do you have any history with Nova?
Just the Nova, just Ryder. What's his name? His full name? Jack Ryder, Tom
Okay.
Ryder, Chris Ryder. Look,
Don't
the
know.
point is,
I don't
whoever
know.
Ryder is in the Nova thing, that the series when it was rebooted for like right before Civil War.
Okay.
Nova showing up like Annihilation. That was where I really was introduced to the character during the Annihilation
Okay.
saga. So with the destruction of the Nova Corps or whatever it was called, yeah.
I watched probably the first season of that Disney Ultimate Spider-Man show where
Mm-hmm.
Nova is a main character in that.
Right.
That's the extent. I don't think I've ever read something that
Is
Nova
it-
popped into.
is it
Maybe I
this-
have, and I don't remember.
Is it this Nova who's in it?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think so. So this was fine. This was all about like the kid's dad has a Nova helmet, and he's always telling them stories about his time, like with the Nova Corps and all that. And we ultimately get to the kid kind of gets drafted to go and like look for his dad maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And so suddenly he finds himself, after not really believing his dad's stories, finds himself to be like a member of the Nova Corps and is figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really have much to say about this first one because it really is just like almost like a prologue,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't really like get into it. Nothing here really pulled me enough to like actively pick up volume 2. Like I didn't finish these issues and be like, what happens now? Even though it does end on a pretty strong cliffhanger. So, I'll probably check back in just to kind of give it a chance once it actually is like begun it's being the story it wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
But this just kind of left me as a whatever. I take it this isn't a character you care about then.
Well, one I was going to read. I think I have something before this with the other
Okay.
Nova character.
Yeah.
I mean, this was during Marvel Now, where they were
Yes.
creating a lot new characters. I think this is the same era where we get Kamala Khan as
Yeah.
and
I think you're right.
maybe I don't know what year this is, but Miles is kind of counted in there. I think it's actually right before Miles joins the Marvel Universe. So
Okay.
you have this Nova, you have Kamala, and I think also all new Ghost Rider, the Robbie Reyes character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Totally Awesome Hulk. So they were. This was a big part where they were getting a lot of younger characters to play these older characters that maybe people weren't totally into.
Okay.
So, gosh, they joined. There was a new team. Maybe it was the New Warriors. Maybe there was like an Avengers team that had a lot of these younger characters in there.
Okay.
I want to say. I'm looking at a list now. Loki is the teenager in this. Maybe they
Okay.
brought back the Young Avengers as well then. So yeah, just their and they got a lot of crap from, the old fogies were like, where's all my stuff? As if, like, legacy characters wasn't a thing in comic books. I mean, less so in Marvel, for sure.
True.
In DC, the new characters take over the mantles all the time. And it was one of the, like, best things about, like, post-crisis DC. Just, like...
I do have to give it this credit here. Like, you're bringing up DC reminds me, because... my constant frustration with DC is that you'll pick up a volume 1 and have no idea what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I just don't know anything about Nova. I've never read a Nova story. I didn't read anything leading up to this, and I was 100% fine.
Yeah.
Like, with this story, I wasn't lost or confused or wondering, like, what does that mean?
Right.
It was very approachable as a volume 1, as it should be. And I guess part of the reason why I am sort of optimistic is because what I like so much about the Loeb McGuinness Hulk stuff is that it's just so huge. You know what I mean? It's just like a big, colorful, cartoony explosion. And I feel like once Nova gets into space and has like that kind of adventure, then I feel like those strengths might play in its favor. But as a subdued origin story, it left a little to be desired. I had a question for you, Eric, because I'm looking ahead at some of the things I want to read for next week. And I
hope I know.
I was looking at the new Power Man, and the way he comes in is on the heels of the Shadowland arc. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about Shadowland?
It wasn't great. It's basically post Ed Brubaker's Daredevil run. It ends with Daredevil now being in charge of the Hand. He's now the leader of the Hand. And so a couple of stuff leads up to it where it seems like maybe he's not on the right side. I think at one point he has them kill Bullseye. It's this big thing. Shadowland is Daredevil taking over like his part of New York with the Hand and a whole bunch of street level heroes coming in to stop him. So you have...
So is he sort of considered a villain at this point?
The twist that is later revealed is that he's possessed by like a demon.
Oh.
And so he's like an actual like demon devil creature that's now in charge of the Hand. So you have Elektra, you have Moon Knight, you have Ghost Rider. He's very funny. He came in at one time. He's like, Hades, Mercedes, what's going on? I think Wolverine is there, Spider-Man, Luke Cage, yeah. So it's funny because whenever they do street level heroes and Spider-Man shows up, I'm like, yeah, he is... but he's also so freaking strong. It's hard to like,
exactly.
And even Power Man. I mean, Power Man always deals with like these street level threats. But I mean, he's he could fight these big bads. So whenever he's there too. But yeah, it's this just street level event. But the writing was not great. Didn't end super well. And then Mark Waid's Daredevil started after. So
So this Power Man that I've got on my reading list, he comes in like post this. So it's called Shadowland: Power Man. Mm-hmm. And then it spins off its own Power Man and Iron Fist with the new Power Man. That's like another 5 issues or something. So I was planning to read that for the last week of Hispanic Heritage Month. So talk about that a little bit more. But I just wondered if the Shadowland story would be like too confusing for me to kind of pop in on a side title. But
Daredevil,
I think that makes sense to me.
Daredevil's possessed and in control of ninjas.
Okay.
So I think at the time, Luke Cage is actually, because that's part of the Age of Heroes line or era. Luke Cage was in charge of the Thunderbolts right now, and it was very much a Suicide Squad setup where the villains were being given parole and extra benefits if they joined the Thunderbolts. And so the Thunderbolts story was actually really fun because you had like Juggernaut and these other characters dealing with ninjas in a sewer, and it's just Juggernaut just like batting away ninjas, which cracks me up. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I read
we'll see how I feel.
I read another DC comic book.
You did?
Yeah. Well,
What is it?
I'm in the process of reading it right now. I'm reading the DC Classic series, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
I was not aware that this was under the D&D imprint.
Okay, it's a DC Comics. Okay,
yeah, DC Comics published Advanced Dungeons and Dragons under the TSR that TSR like did. So you have Dan Mishkin and Jan Derusima on the art. Like I knew Marvel did Star Wars for so long, but I didn't know that
Right.
DC had picked it up. I want to say, because I have it here. Where did it start? 1988, DC Comics.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah, Dungeons and Dragons has been around for a while. So this was like the first real Dungeons and Dragons thing. There was a Dragon Lance comics earlier, I believe, but I think
Okay.
Advanced D&D was like the first one. So it ran for like 36 issues.
Okay.
Which, so anyways, I started reading it. I'm a couple issues in. You know, it's not as fun as that one I just read that was set with 4th edition and everything, because that one was much more light on its feet.
Okay.
Funny, very colorful and everything. This has, you know, this is an 80s fantasy comic book series. So maybe me saying that will tell you enough about this series. But
so are there characters that are like, this is an established D&D character, or is it like new? Is it more just like races or like groups?
These are like original characters, I believe, to this series.
So are there characters in this universe that like go?
Oh yeah. Like there's Dritz.
Okay, there are.
There's like Dritz, who's like the big one. This drow elf who's like the big marquee D&D character. But yeah, these are original. Yeah. So you have like a dwarven barbarian, you have a human paladin, that kind of stuff. There's this centaur guy who's there who constantly makes like horse jokes. Like at one point he's like, I feel as strong as a horse. Well, half a horse anyways. And I'm like, have you been making these jokes your whole life?
I kind of dig it.
Yeah. So
go with what works.
Yeah. You know? But it is what you could kind of like say like, oh, this is just a fantasy book with the D&D title on it, but they are using D&D monsters, and like I think the art is based around what the monster manual would look like. There's spells that work like they do in D&D, and when you get to the end of the issue, they'll pick like 2 characters and they'll tell you their stats and their powers and how they work and everything. So that's kind of fun. So yeah, I don't know. I was just what.
Who did Justin Whalen play in the Dungeons and Dragons film? And you love that film, right? You really like that Dungeons and Dragons movie?
I've never seen that film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
It's not something that I've been out there for. But yeah, so I guess cool that DC picked up on it, but it only lasted for 36 issues. I think they did a whole bunch of different series, though. I think Forgotten Realms was a thing. But I think it's IDW now who has the D&D license.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, it's an ongoing thing? You're going to read more?
Yeah, I'll read the collection has the first 8 issues, so I'll read as much as I can read from Comixology.
Cool.
I don't know how super easy it is to get a hold of these trades, but I mean, it's kind of me conceding because I don't want to pay to read the newer Dungeons and Dragons, and they're not on any of the apps. So,
have you ever read any Transformers comics?
No.
The only Transformer comic I ever read was Star Trek Transformers, and I loved it. But I've been kind of interested in reading like the 80s stuff, but it's also kind of hard to find. I mean, you just have to straight up buy it.
Transformers is one of those like those big properties, those like 5 big properties from the 80s with like G.I. Joe and stuff that I never got into. Though I guess I was really digging the G.I. Joe comic books, but I didn't. I felt like I didn't need any prior knowledge. I don't know. Yeah, but G.I. Joe is just so silly. It's just like, whoa, that was close. We almost died. Or like, haha, you thought I blew up last time, but really, it was your mother.
The what I read was very, very dramatic.
Yes, they're very melodramatic.
It definitely was.
Yeah,
I did that Marvel G.I. Joe issue 112 for a quarter bin back in episode 2, as you recall. So like I had that my whole life, and those comics they're extreme. Go Joe.
My Batman pick of the week, my rando Batman pick of the week. All I've talked about is Batman this week. But
True.
The one that I've read in the past that if you're looking for just a Batman pick to read is going to be Batman Death by Design. Batman Death by Design by Chip Kidd and Dave Taylor. This is very much an art book. You're reading this for the art. It has a pencil sketch 1940s vibe. What's the phrase that Art Deco? It's a very Art Deco. Gotham's being built. People are being killed by the buildings that they're in, like glass floors and all this stuff.
Okay.
I remember. Let's see. Here's my actual review from Goodreads. Okay,
Oh
here
my
we
gosh.
go. The tone of this book was a bit off. I couldn't really tell you what decade this book is supposed to take place in. There's some fun retro elements, but the story is lacking in the same artistic style. Worth checking out, but it's not essential Batman. So,
Hmm.
uh,
I
and
don't even remember this at all.
this was part of me. I think I had read. I don't remember what I had read. I think I was done with the Scott Snyder Batman stuff, and I had realized that
Okay.
like I had read all the classic Batman stuff that people that are always on like the 10 Batman stories you need to read, and so I had got on this
Hmm.
list of like that had a whole bunch of stuff. So when I was reading like Batman Prey and Batman Year 100 and stuff, this was one of the
Yeah.
books I had
Yeah.
read.
Oh, I love Year 100. So good.
But yes, this is still something that I would suggest reading because the art's cool. It has this kind of strange look to it all. The book was like this big, flat hardcover, so it's definitely
Okay.
something you should read the physical copy of, I think. I don't know if it would translate
Okay.
digitally.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Well, my quarter bin of the week is a
Here's
real
your quarter,
whirlwind.
sir.
It's a real whirlwind. This one is DC Comics Presents number 40, and this was like a team up book. Usually it was Superman and
Yeah, I was going to
you know,
ask you, what is the difference between DC Comics Presents and Brave and the Bold?
Brave and the Bold is Batman fronted, and DC Comics Presents I think is
Oh.
Superman fronted.
That's it. One's the Superman
basically,
team-up
I mean-
book and one's the Batman team-up book.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's not like that's not 100% true, but that's largely true.
Didn't you
That
just
it's
have
Superman.
a Metamorpho team-up book with, like, Batman?
Did I?
No, maybe you didn't. I feel like we were just talking about Metamorpho. Maybe it was in that other book you read, the Terrifics?
Oh, yes, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
okay.
he is a main character in the Terrifics. Yeah. All right, so this came out in December of 1981. It's written by Jerry Conway, art by Irv Novick. There's a main story called The Day the Elements Went Wild, and there's also a backup story. Typically, I would choose one, but I couldn't part with either of these, so you need to know what this is about. All right, so The Day the Elements Went Wild, we start and learn that the elements have in fact gone wild in a small town called Haneyville. Things are happening like the oxygen is turning to fluoride, the iron to cobalt, helium to lithium. Some crazy stuff is happening. So Morgan Edge sends Clark Kent and Lou the cameraman to investigate.
Lou. Right.
This is at a time when Clark Kent decided the best way to keep his identity secret was to go on TV every single day. So Clark and Lou are heading down
What?
to this Haneyville. Yeah, Clark is a TV news anchor at this point in the 80s.
And
for a
that's
long stretch.
helping him?
It's insane that he would do that.
This part of the 80s, we're talking John Byrne Superman or prior to that?
This is 1981, so
Okay.
a little,
Before Crisis,
yeah. Yes. So things are real nuts. Like Clark and Lou were driving along in this van, and suddenly, like the road, like starts disintegrating because all the elements are screwing up. The air is full of nitrogen. Lou, luckily, gets knocked out, so he can change it to Superman and rescue them. Never again do we interact with Lou. So I don't know why we had this character at all, but we did. Superman starts trying to fix these things, but it's like beyond him. Elements are changing. He sees Metamorpho and instantly is like, that's the guy who did this. Even though he knows Rex Mason, who is Metamorpho. I don't know why Superman just automatically assumes that like Rex is behind this, but he goes and has a big fight with Metamorpho. Meanwhile, Sapphire Stagg, who was Rex Mason's Metamorpho's fiance, is like, "Stop, Superman, stop!" And Rex gets away. Turns out, we get a little flashback here into Rex's origin. So we have a whole thing with Sapphire's dad tricked Rex into this place. The whole backstory with like they go to this pyramid and there's a meteor, and long story short, we have Metamorpho. But Sapphire thinks that her dad, Simon Stagg, is actually the one responsible for the current mess because he was trying to learn. I know. He was trying to learn, and Metamorpho calls him like, "Hey, old staggy britches." I mean, he calls him all sorts of crazy things. So Superman follows Metamorpho and finds him in the lip of this cave. He's expecting to find Simon Stagg,
what?
but
What? Who says lip of a cave?
that's where they are.
The lip of a cave?
Yeah.
Gross.
Anyway. They're expecting to find Simon Stagg, and Metamorpho's in bad shape, but
At the
instead
lip
they
of
find
the cave.
yes, they find a big man named Java who is using this magic orb because apparently he's in love with Sapphire and wants to like capture Sapphire so she'll like love him. He's got a real Bluto vibe. Is what's happening here with Java. Anyway, Superman and Metamorpho decide to team up, and they go deeper into this cave, and they actually do find Simon Stagg, who's like, things are going crazy. He's not in good shape, and the action is interrupted by the Penguin doing an ad for Hostess fruit pies. So join me
another one of
on
those
this adventure.
fruit pie posters.
Penguin sends a fleet of Emperor Penguins down Main Street to distract the police while he steals, among other things, the Emperor's sword, which is on display. Unfortunately, Penguin is distracted by some, can you guess, Eric?
Hostess fruit pies.
Hostess fruit pies that the police laid out for him. And while he goes to get them, the police capture him. And they're like, not today, Penguin. But the thing is, he's fine with it. And he says, and I quote, I didn't get a fortune in gems, but I did get the light, tender crust, real fruit filling of Hostess fruit pies. The day wasn't a total loss. The end. Anyway, Simon tells Metamorpho and Superman that Java has a duplicate.
What was the last one?
Yeah.
Zoom? It was Zoom?
It was Mirror Master and Green Lantern.
Mirror Master, Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Mirror Master was like, oh, sweet.
No. Kids used the yellowness of Twinkies to disrupt the. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember now.
Then they all shared a Twinkie before Mirror Master got thrown in prison. Same deal here. Penguin's like, you know what? Arrest me if you want. I got some Hostess fruit pies. It's a good day. Back to our main story. Simon is telling the guys that Java has a duplicate of the Orb of Ra. That's what he's using to change all the elements. So this is no good. And there's a whole big thing, but ultimately they're afraid that Java is going to accidentally create a nuclear reaction and destroy the world. Meanwhile, Bluto has Olive, but Rex and Superman are able to overpower him. And Rex flies the orb up, and there's a huge explosion. Sapphire's in tears. She's sure that Rex is dead. But you know what? He's not. And guess what? Clark Kent interviews him for the evening news. The end. Okay. But the backup story is called Whatever Happened to the Original Airwave, and it's by Bob Rozakis and Alex Savick. And here we go. 14 years ago, D.A. Larry Jordan was skating on telephone wires and converting his body energy into radio waves as part-time superhero Airwave. Anyway, he's trying out his new outfit, and suddenly he hears a commotion downstairs in his house. So he goes to activate the suit, but it's new, and instead of like transporting him, the suit transports like without him. Mm-hmm. So he's just there in his regular clothes. He runs downstairs, and it takes a turn, Eric, so I want you to sit down for this. He finds his wife and son held at gunpoint by Joe Parsons, who is an escaped convict that Larry had put away. Anyway, a fight ensues. Parson goes to shoot Larry, and he like kicks the gun, and it misfires and everything. They fight. Looks like Larry's going to win. Parson gets the upper hand, and murders Larry in front of his family. Yeah. Anyway, he looks around and he sees the wife and son collapsed on the ground, and he thinks the wild shot must have already killed them. And there's cops coming because of all the gunshots. So he runs away thinking that the whole Jordan family is dead. Okay. Later, we cut to like the mom and the son at the breakfast table looking at the newspaper, and there's a big picture of Larry on the front. And the kid is like, Dad, look, it's Dad. And the mom's thought bubble says, yes, but you'll never see him again. So really dark stuff here. Anyway, she sends the kid, whose name is Hal, to stay with his grandma. Then she suits up as Airwave and goes after Parsons, right? So she finds him. They have a big fight. She beats him and drops some knowledge that Mrs. Jordan, who is actually her, is alive and will testify against him. Anyway, she puts the costume away and takes comfort knowing that someday her son Hal will assume the persona of Airwave and carry on his father's legacy. The end.
The end.
Here's what's confusing to me about this, because the kid's name is Hal Jordan. Like, the kid's name is Hal Jordan, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what is that all about? Apparently, Larry Jordan the character Airwave was really active in the Golden Age. He appeared in Detective Comics number 60 in 1942, and then, was that character for a while. The only time Helen is ever Airwave is in this one issue. But Harold Hal Jordan is apparently the first cousin of Green Lantern Hal Jordan and was named after Hal Jordan. So they're both named Hal Jordan, which is very confusing.
Weird.
I know. And in the Green Lantern Green Arrow run after what was previously collected, Airwave shows up and Hal actually trains him. And then he becomes this minor recurring character in the DC universe with backups in Adventure Comics, runs in Firestorm and the JSA, and plays pretty major roles in Crisis on Infinite Earths and Infinite Crisis. So it's just a strange little backstory here. That's all. It deals with a cold-blooded murder in the middle of it. You're underwhelmed by it, but I was very whelmed by it. So
yeah, I'm glad you were. Yeah, no, it didn't. Metamorpho, he's a character. I feel like I look at him and I get kind of bored. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's his
He's got a lot going on.
Yeah,
He's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's it for me. I'll try to find a more interesting one for you next week.
No, it's fine. But
you're a tough critic.
I mean, the hostess stuff. Not hostess. It is hostess.
It's hostess fruit pies, yeah.
Right.
That was your favorite part?
I don't know. I'm looking at the, like...
Go on.
No, I was looking at the cover and I was just reading all the text here, so...
Yeah. It's a lot. There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
Oh,
Save your energy, Superman. This is a job for Metamorpho.
Yeah. Here you go. Hostess fruit pies.
Yeah, look at him.
There's the penguin looking at him like quack, 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 quack.
Do you think this is what, what's his name?
Colin Farrell?
No, the director. Tim Burton looked to as inspiration for his penguin?
Probably.
Like, wait a second, the penguin can use penguins?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I did think that.
Fruit
and
pies.
I mean, he's always eating crap, so
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's too bad
Danny
DeVito didn't get any fruit pies in that movie. That would have been pretty sweet.
I would rather have him see fruit pies instead of like be regurgitating black sludge the whole movie.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Do you remember reading this as a kid?
I mean, the cover is very familiar to me. Mm-hmm. I have had this forever. I didn't remember the story.
Okay, so you don't know, like, if as a kid you were reading it, like, what?
No, I don't. I don't remember. I don't remember. I just know that this is probably one of my old, like the ones that I've had for the longest, because the cover is very much reminiscent.
I think the oldest. I mean, I know it's not the first one, but I think like the oldest, like back issue, like quarter bin ish thing that I ever have is like a what if, and it was what if Hulk had killed Wolverine.
Oh.
And I remember it not being a lot of fun. Because, anyway.
Wolverine died? Yeah.
No, because I was just getting into comics, and so it was a lot of history about the X-Men that I wasn't aware of. It was the whole, like, Roma stuff where they, like, die, the fall of mutants and everything. So I was just like, what? So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Well, what's on your reading list for next week? What can we look out for?
I don't even know, because I got so much stuff out. I got Volume 7 of Punisher Max, which is the only Punisher Max I haven't read, and it wasn't on Comixology. It's super expensive on Comixology. It was the only one that wasn't on sale when they were on sale. Or it was one that I didn't even know existed at the point. I thought I had gotten a hold of all of them. Mm-hmm. Couldn't find it at any libraries. It's Max titles on the Marvel app, so... it turned out to be in my library system, and it was the only one of the Max titles in the library system.
Wow.
So I grabbed that.
Nice.
I grabbed Jeff Lemire's Ascender, which is a sequel to Descender. Got some DC stuff that...
nice.
I got that, like, Harleen big book. Have you seen that? So check that out. Some other stuff that I got. I got a big pile. Big old really pile.
Like that Harley Quinn Breaking Glass, that's another one of those teen...
This is an adult one. Yeah, this is very much an adult one.
All right. So, well, I'm reading that Shadowland Power Man. I also have some Aquaman I'm going to read because it's the introduction of Aqua Girl there. So we'll talk a little bit about that next week. But yeah, I will see. We'll see if I finish that Blue Beetle run or not. That's the test to see if I can get through it. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll bid you adieu.
Yeah, I'll just do my little traditional robot dance while we shut down.
Yeah, okay. Okay. this is traditional because I'm seeing it for the first
No,
time.
we've been doing this every episode.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you've
I
always
don't
said,
think so.
like, goodbye. I'm like, goodbye, humans.
Listen, I don't remember that, but I don't hate it.
Yeah,
I don't
alright.
hate it. It's the thing. So,
All right,
okay.
that was the end. Have a good week, everybody.
So long.